Okay, so the
All
first way
right.
you make more in Q4 is figuring out Zoom. Welcome to my first Zoom meeting, right?
Yeah, it's okay.
We have to let
You weren't
you
a
in.
panelist, that's all.
Perfect.
Hey, everybody.
So I'm sorry I'm late, guys. I hate to do that to you, but let's get the show on the road. I'm sure everybody is probably curious to hear what this wonderful panel of brilliant people have to say. So Barry, how about we kick it off? How do you want to get started? How did it work last time? You tell me, my friend.
Yeah. So we took the Realtors in Residence, which is people that are running successful teams on the Ylopo platform, and we help them analyze what they need to do over the next several weeks to make sure that they make a lot of money the rest of the year and next year. And we broke it up into 4 sections. And as you're going to hear us go over this information, I think there's like, I think a lot of people are just like, good luck charms, or, they're lucky. I wish I was successful. But there's a real science behind this. It's not, hope for the best, this, that, and the other. And so let's just go ahead and dive right into it, because if you guys are not driving, I recommend you get something to write with. And after each talking point, we're going to try to pause for a moment and glean a couple of things to make sure you've written them down so that you can execute. So let's go ahead
Barry,
and just kick it off.
I do want to say this too. What you just said is so vitally important, because what happens is people come to these things and they feel good about the information that they just heard, and they go back home and they never really execute. So the key to really receiving the value today is writing down your takeaways and planning to go home and actually execute. You do that, you're going to make some money in Q4.
Well, and if I
That's
may add
exactly
a couple of things to that is, you're going to hear a bunch of things you're going to want to execute. I would highly recommend choosing 1 or 2, get them implemented, to go back, choose a couple more. Don't try to do it all at once. You won't get it done. So take it into bite-sized pieces.
I really like to see Barry try to eat an elephant in one bite, like that visual piece. Maybe we should have a graphic of that, but no, you cannot eat the elephant in one bite. So you're very right, Lori. Like, you just got to take a couple takeaways, implement them, and then go back to the drawing board and do the next.
Right.
So where are we going to start today, ladies and gentlemen? What's our first, in section 1, what's our first nuggets here, guys?
So section 1 is really about how to get people into your sphere, into your world, and keep them there. Because that's so key. As realtors, I think we're always chasing the new. Mm-hmm. And we forget we've already paid our money to capture these potential clients. And it's not only for the people that want to raise their hand and say right now, but it's also for people that long-term are looking for something. So we're talking, I guess Laura and I can kind of powwow this one, but we're talking about how to bring people in once you've got them, or once you start using a system like Ylopo. So before we start, I just have to share a win that happened to me yesterday, and I'm going to just quickly screen share this, because I got a reach out yesterday from a client in Ylopo, and I'd like everyone to see when they registered. July of 2017. And in July of 2017, this woman registered. We did everything. We did the call, we did the action plan, we did the reach out, we did everything. And she wasn't responsive. And it took until yesterday for me, and I just wanted to show that date, for me to get a phone call. And this woman said, "Hi, Livia, this is Jewel. I wanted to reach out. You don't know me, but I know you because you've consistently reached out to me. And I have to apologize that I never picked up or responded. I just wasn't ready. But I am ready now. And I've identified 2 properties that you sent me, and I'd like to see them. And I'm taking her out tomorrow." So that magic that happened, this cold, thought she hated me person, is now someone that trusts me and wants to work with me tomorrow. And Laura and I can talk a little bit about how you suck them in and how you keep them there. But that's the magic of what we're talking about right now with bringing people in.
Well, I think the point that Livia is making is we're always looking for a new system, new leads, new ways to generate business. And we ignore what we already have. And part of being resourceful and part of not leaving money on the table is putting a system into place where someone comes into, I call it the black hole, and they get sucked in and they never leave. And that we have enough going on with our systems, with our follow-up, with the way that we approach our leads, that it's okay if they're going to sit there for 3 years. Most of us will attempt to call somebody maybe 3 times max, and then we trash them. We hit the trash button and throw them out of our CRM. And I'm telling you right now, if you've been in business more than 2 or 3 years, your past database, that names, phone numbers, emails, all have a great value. And we all know that it takes about 18 months for an internet lead to convert, to go from hello to buying a home. So there you've got people in your old leads that you've labeled as bad leads, that if the proper system is implemented, you will bring those old leads back to life. And the Ylopo system is amazing at doing that.
Amazing.
So 2 things that I'm picking up. So first off, Liv, I'm reminded of a situation in my own lead database. We just closed one that was 5.5 years old this year. Same scenario, like 5.5. I'm like, really, 5.5 years, right? So you never know where they're going to come from. But I think what you guys are driving at, because what we're talking about, well, how do I make more money in Q4 and beyond? So if it takes 18 months to convert a lead, how does it help me in Q4? What you really have to look at is who came into your system 18 months ago, right? That's really what we're talking about, is are you reaching back that far? And are you really, digging into those older leads and starting to reach out again? Because if you're not, if you just assume they're all gone or all dead, you'd be maybe missing the pot of gold.
Yes.
And in fairness to everyone, we don't have the bandwidth to continually reach out with people for 5 years in such a way that we can be all things to all people. That's why you need to systemize it. And that's what is so amazing about a system like Ylopo, because Laura calls it the black hole. Sarah taught me to call it the happy bubble. You want to capture people so that you stay top of mind. I always tell my agents, you want to be a top agent, people have to know who you are, they have to know what you do, and they have to trust you. That's how you become a top agent. So how do you do that? How do you let people know who you are and what you do and grow to trust you? And it's that consistency over time and staying top of mind.
So when we talked about systems inside your database, when you have 100 people in your database, it's not too hard to manage that. But how about 500? How about 1,000? How about some large database? I think we've got 45,000, and that's small compared to some that we've seen. How do you manage thousands of people without a system, right? So what I love about the Ylopo system, for example, based on their activity that they're taking, will trigger your response. So you're able to categorize and make some assumptions around their timeline and intentions based on how active they are. So that might help. But beyond that, can we talk a little bit about some of these old leads and what might trigger, hey, I've got to pay attention in Q4 to these leads right here. How are we organizing our database? You brought up a point a minute ago saying that, people will trash their database and they're waiting for the new leads to come in because they feel like those are going to be more productive. And I think there's 2 mentalities around that. Some people are all about buying more leads, as many as they can. Other people are more about optimizing the leads and database they have with true systems that they dig hard into. Or you'll find the hybrid, that you'll find the team that's good at really both, right? So let's talk a little bit about, from these older leads, based on what their activity is, what your activity is, what's the system? How do we identify, I've got an hour to make calls a day, who am I calling?
Everyone does it different, but Barry's taught a really good way to have systems and smart lists. Barry, were you going to show that?
The doom. I was hoping for that, Barry. I was like, can we talk about our database management? I knew this was coming.
He's a guru.
He is.
Well, so thank you. I'll make sure you guys send me your Cash App info afterwards so I can send you that money.
I thought you were going to pay us for that referral. Sorry. Okay.
There you go. So, all right, highest level, 3 buckets. New. You can define new however you want. We decided on our team to define new as 10 days or less. And we just arbitrarily pick that number. For us, new means we try frequently because they're new, and that's a new behavior. Our second bucket is old. 10 days or less is what we define as old. But after 10 days, if they haven't responded to all of our attempts for communication, in our mind, they have not earned the right for us to try anymore. And I'm talking about agents. Now, ISAs, that's a different story. I pay them to call all day, right? They call 1,000 people a day. But agents, after 10 days, they didn't do anything. I don't want them on my agent's radar anymore. I want them to move along and go away. And I want my system, whether it's my ISAs, whether it's my AI texting, which is Raya, my dynamic remarketing ads from Ylopo, just bringing them back to my website. They've got to do something important for them to come back on my radar. They've got to earn the right to get a little bit of my attention. So that's the second bucket. And then the third bucket is collecting all of the people that we've spoken to. And when we speak to a prospect, we make a decision at the end. Are they hot, warm, or cold? Hot, warm, or cold? And we don't get all caught up in, you know, what's the definition of a hot versus warm? Just triage them. And we collect all of them, and all the people that we've spoken to and labeled hot, warm, and cold, if they've been on our website recently, I think we do 7 days, but you could do any number of days. And in those 7 days, we haven't tried to reach them. They're in that third bucket. And so what happens when you process those 3 buckets and you're prospecting for new opportunities, if you notice, all 3 of those lists are based off of consumer behavior. And that's very different than basing your workflow off of, when I get a new lead, I have all these tasks created for the next 6 months, and I wake up in the morning, I go to my tasks, and I just rhythmically follow up. And I know the law of averages, if I just stay consistent, I'll eventually be present enough to be in front of them at the right time, at the right place.
Numbers game.
I don't want to work that hard. Yeah, I don't want to work that hard. I'll just be honest. I want to work smart. And I also really like talking to people that I think need my help. And so why not let the system generate, keep them, and you know, just leverage based off of that. And now you can go in with a surgeon scalpel instead of a shotgun.
So yeah, what I was just going to say, you're really describing a couple of different key points, and I'm hoping the audience is taken away here. Number one, you're talking about a sniper approach versus a machine gun approach, right? You're literally talking about aiming at the right person at the right time rather than just spraying like hope and pray, right? You're talking about leverage. Now, Barry, I heard you talk a minute ago about your ISA staff, right? So you're leveraging a couple of things, the ISAs, but you're also leveraging your systems. You're letting your systems run in the background, trying to raise the cream to the crop in consumer behavior to move that to more of a high intent bucket, right? Like you're not going to spend a lot of time with a low intent. You're letting the systems identify who should we focus on rather than the machine gun spray. And I think this is where people get so frustrated because they are doing the machine gun spray and it's not working out well. It's working out, poorly. Yes, they'll hit somebody once in a while that's ready to do something by accident, but are you going to spend hours every day making those calls to hit that one person, or are you going to work smarter to hit the right crowd at the right audience at the right time? So when I'm thinking about making more money in Q4, our subject matter today, leverage, systems, intentionality, that's what I'm hearing.
Yep. And you need a system you can trust. Sorry, Barry. You need a system you can trust. A system that gives you the information that's relevant to you as an agent. You don't want to be pinged for every login because that just burns you out. Mm-hmm. You need to be pinged when the behavior is significant enough that you should do something, whether it be just have eyes on them, send them something, or reach out and call. And that's when you systemize. I think sometimes we're just quick to put on whatever system someone offers us, and we don't do the homework to make sure it's the way our brains work and that's giving us relevant, workable data.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
let me share my screen real quick.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
One
Laura.
of the other things that Barry pointed out that I don't want anybody to miss is Barry just compared task-oriented approach to behavior-oriented approach. Mm-hmm. So a lot of our CRMs are set up where we just have tasks that tell us, call this person this day, call this person this day. And really, that's mind numbing, and we don't do it. We just
And what you're
don't.
talking about is action plans, right? Because when you set the action plans, tasks will pull up, and it gives you the idea like, oh, I haven't, made the call to this person for a while or for a couple of days. I should do it again.
Right.
Now, and maybe when you have a smaller database and you only have 200 people in there, maybe you have to run tasks because there's not enough consumer behavior. But at some point, there's enough consumer behavior that should take more, if not all of your time, right? So there might be that breaking point that you have to identify when the time to switch, because when you're task oriented, there's a time that you're going to switch to consumer behavior. It's the only thing that makes sense.
Well, you have to. If we're talking about leveraging up, you only have so many hours in a day. And if you're a standalone agent versus the team agent, it's going to make a difference on how you approach your database. But if you're a standalone agent, as soon as you can get that database big enough to where you can work off of lead behavior versus tasks, that's going to make a huge difference in how many people you actually get on the phone versus just doing dials because you have to dial.
So I'd like to also point out a principle I love. It's one of my favorite principles in business. It's just a scientific principle called the Pareto principle. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it, but the Pareto principle will state that about 80% of your results come from less than 20% of your actual efforts. So there's a difference between being busy and being productive. And the more you focus on efficiency and productivity versus just feeling overwhelmed and reactive, the more money you're going to make. So in Q4, that would be my advice. Focus on productivity and identify what your highest and best use of time is.
Mike is using verbiage I used in the webinar last week. Busy.
Let me just quickly give an example, and then I don't want to belabor it too much, but I've just recently added a new workflow for my agents. And the workflow is my ISAs are doing all the calling. And when an appointment is set, we create an appointment which automatically adds them to list one. And so my agents are, let's just assume, let me just pick one agent. All right. So let's say I'm Annie, and Annie has 9 appointments that we've set for her. Okay. And then Annie has 5 that she has met with and is working that are active on our website. And then she has 3 that we found an opportunity, and so we've tagged them so they put them into the nudged category. And all of these are filtered based off of different categories. So if she's tried to reach them in the last 2 days, they don't show up here. So the reason why I'm showing you guys this, so here's a hot and warm. So this is all of her hot and warm, because that's all I want them focused on. But she hasn't tried to reach them in longer than 7 days. I don't want my lists to be places I go and then read through to try to decide who to call. I want my list to be people that need me in some form or fashion right now. And so I'll stop talking about the list after this. What last thing? My favorite filters are last site visit. So, have they been on my website recently? Last communication, if I haven't tried to reach them in 7 days, or if I have spoken to them in the last 2 days, maybe I don't want to see them. And the third is having your website tag the lead. So most CRMs have some form of tagging, and leveraging those tags to make sure that I'm talking to the right person that I want to. When you combine that, you can see where I've got 110,000 people in this account, in this Follow Up Boss account. Annie's got 6 I need her to talk to, right? And that's how you need this. You need it so drilled down, because time is money, and you can do it now. The technology is available.
So, and I love that, because what you just talked about too, Barry, and I see a lot of agents do this, where they end up spending half of their scheduled time going through figuring out who they're going to call rather than actually making the call, right? So setting yourself up for success, that you can just sit down, make your calls, who you're supposed to focus on. It comes in a list first through last, and you can just plow through it, is going to be much more effective and, again, productive than trying to figure out for the first 45 minutes of your 1-hour schedule of who you're actually going to make the calls to.
Your CRM is like a metal detector. If you use it properly, it will say ding, 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 dig here, right?
Right.
I love that,
That's
Laura.
what we're talking about. You're still going to have to shovel some dirt, but it's going to put you into a category where you're more likely going to find people who are ready to talk with you and able to have a reasonable real estate conversation with you.
I like that analogy, but Barry's metal detector, he's always digging in my yard. I always have to shoo him out. I'm like, it's my yard, man. Get out of here.
No trespassing.
So one thing I'd like to say too, if you're talking about making more money in Q4, really look at, I like to call it the 3 Ps: plan, prepare, prevail, right? So when you're absent of a plan, you're just open to whatever happens. You're reactive. You're just kind of, I want to say, disorganized. So, the more that you can put some organization behind your systems, and you're never going to have it perfect. You're always going to be tweaking things. Barry, you're a guru at this, but I guarantee you're still tweaking and modifying things when you see a need to, right? I mean, nothing's ever perfect. And, if you're looking to have the perfect plan, you're never going to have it. It's, a good plan today is better than perfect plan tomorrow. You just got to get in there and start working on it and get a little better every single day.
And I think key to that too is knowing your CRM. You have to have a CRM, and then you have to know how to drill down in a CRM. And if you are paying for a CRM and you just know the basics, take a little time and watch those tutorials, because a CRM is your virtual office and it's meant to make your life easier, not harder.
Well,
So
I don't know. I started selling real estate in the 90s, and I still use Post-it notes for my CRM. I don't know about you guys. This is good technology.
Yeah.
I hope you have a smart list with sticky notes.
I do. Yep. All over my wall.
Yeah.
All right. So Barry, I think we covered both section 1 and 2 going into this, but one thing I'd like to kind of cover is when you talk about database management organization, you use the word triage. I use the same word because I want to know, who I'm really supposed to be focusing on. And if you walk into an emergency room and you see somebody having a heart attack, they're probably at the front of the line. Somebody that's got a severe headache and they don't feel good is probably at the back. Maybe the person with the broken legs in pain, but they're in the middle. Right up until the point the person with the headache starts having a stroke, they might go to the front of the line. So based on what happens with them, you got to be able to identify who you move around. And there's probably some ways you do that. So Barry, you're talking about smart lists. We talked about tags. How about stages? What do we do with stages? I personally like stages. What do you do with them?
It's a big deal. Stages are really misused. People
Big
confuse
time.
stages with like lead sources. Like the second you make a stage a lead source, it's over with. Because in my opinion, Laura, Livia, I'd love for you to speak to it, because stages should be very linear. Laura, I know you do a lot of teaching on this. Do you agree?
Yeah. So, and I'm probably more picky about stages than most agents are. They definitely have it. They have to have a definition. And on my team, we all know what that definition is for each stage.
So is it like this? I see a lot of agents interchanging what a tag should be and a stage should be, and it just sort of they don't have any real clear idea there, so they're just kind of mixing it all together and they're missing the point.
Yeah, stage. So let me start out this way. We've been talking prospecting. Well, there's prospecting and there's follow-up. So I define those separately.
Very much so.
Prospecting are people I've not talked to yet. So we haven't gotten to have a conversation with them yet. Follow-up is I've talked to you, and now my job is to pull you through the pipeline. And so what I do with new leads, my drip campaigns, everything in the new lead I haven't talked to yet person is designed to create an opportunity to have a conversation. Once we've had the conversation, everything I do with that person is designed to help move them through the process of buying a home. And so when we're talking, when we talk with a lead, we should have a general idea. If we can't nail down time frame, at least know where they are in the process. Are they just getting started dreaming of buying a home? Are they starting the planning process? Planning like how much down payment, what school district do we need to be in? Are they in the shopping phase where they're like, I want to go see houses now. We're very excited. Or are they in the transacting phase, which is we've got pre-approval, we're going with the intent of writing a contract. And if you can at least identify where they are in the process, you're always going to close them, but you're going to close them not necessarily for an appointment. If you're in the dreaming phase, every conversation I have is designed to move you into the planning phase. If you're in the planning phase, every conversation, my email drips, all of the stuff that I'm doing is designed to move you into the shopping phase. I'm giving you things of value, and we have a clear-cut cycle. I have developed a system of emails that are relevant to my market area. And if you are a lead that's ready to rock and roll, you're going to get that information rapidly. And we're going to talk to you 2 to 3 times a week because we want to get you into that house. If you're in the dreaming phase, we're talking once a month. I'm going to send you something of value, give you something to think about, and ask a question. And so now our follow-up in the past with our leads, so stage is important. Stage is what triggers that appropriate follow-up.
Can you give me a few examples of stages you're using so the audience can visualize that?
Sure. I have ABC, and then we have actively looking, and then we have pending under contract, and then we have closed, and then we have past client. Those
Love
are
it.
our stages.
I use a lot of similar ones. I even do pre-approved or not pre-approved because I send some different content based on that.
Sure. You could be an
Seller
A
versus
lead.
buyer. I do that. So really great. And I love the fact that you're identifying where they are in the life cycle of being a lead. I use ART, A-R-T, aspirational, research, transactional, just because I can say the art of conversion. I get my agents to remember that, right?
Awesome.
And,
I like that one.
and I'll tell you, the reality is like Tetris, right? If you're giving transactional messages to aspirational buyers, it doesn't fit, game over, right?
They shut
Where
you down.
it's really like you have to have the right message that's relevant at the right time. So I think your talking points in conversion, if you want to make more money in Q4, I think having your talking points down for the right leads at the right time is also going to help you identify and connect right with the right people to move them forward.
Well, and their talking points need to be repetitive because I don't know what your preferred communication style is, right? So
I drink a lot and then I call people. That's what I do.
He likes to talk on the phone. So there are a set of valuable emails with information that go out based on where you are in the process. It's either once a month, twice a month, or immediately. Followed up the next day by a phone call to confirm that you received the email, which then is followed up by a text that mirrors the email. So for example, Mike, in my area, we have mine subsidence. We have coal mines and homes have been built over them. It's a big deal. And there are maps to locate where these mines are. So I might send you a link and say, hey, I don't know if you've thought about this, but here's a map of areas where mines are. Mine subsidence insurance can be expensive. Please take a look and let me know if we need to change your search criteria. You get that in an email. The next day I follow up with a phone call, and then you get the text reflecting the same information. The reason I do this is because we don't do very good work at following up on A, B, and C leads or hot, warm, and cold leads. Why do I say that? Here's our call. Hey, Mike, it's Laura. How's your family? How's your job? Hey, are you ready yet? Are you ready yet? Did you talk to the lender yet? You looked at a house. You want to go see it? Are you ready yet? Are you ready yet? And after a while, they don't answer our calls.
Correct.
And we don't call because we don't know what to say to them.
Correct.
So my agents don't have to think about it. The email goes out. The new lead action plan is stopped. The new action plan is launched based on stage. The content is there. The agents know why they're calling and what they want to talk with the lead about. And that makes the follow-up work. And I'm going to tell you something. We chase new business, new business, new business. And if we don't close them right away, very few of us maximize our follow-up, people we've talked to before, because we honestly don't know what to say and don't have anything of value to talk to them about until they're ready to buy. And that is so sad because we have a lot of value to bring to these people, even though they're not ready to go see houses today.
So
The way I think we should think about it, I think we're all kind of saying the same thing. Stages are where they are in the lifeline. Tags should be how we find them, like how we drill down a little deeper. So, they're active shopper, but they want only a waterfront with a pool and a dock. Those can be tags. Active shopper can be where they're at in their life.
I wanted to give you, and I think Barry used the system too, one caveat that has been a great system add-on for me as my database has grown is Revaluate, which is a predictive analytics system that'll help identify based on government searches, their search government data, their search history, what they're looking at online. It'll help identify what, how far or how motivated they are to likely move in the next 6 months. We found that it's really accurate because those cold leads that we talk about that aren't deserving of our time, sometimes they are motivated buyers or sellers that are in other people's systems being communicated with by other agents. But I can say, you know what, this guy is really high up on the predictive analytics score. I think I'm going to put some effort, try to get a hold of them. And we've had quite a bit of success there. So I don't know, Barry, I think you're in Revalue, if I remember right, but we've been using that system with a lot of success.
Yeah, no, the Revaluate system works really well. And I think at the highest level, people, if you're listening to us, you just got like sucked into the weeds and you're probably feeling overwhelmed. And what I'll tell you is just don't, we're going to leave you with some action steps. We're exposing you to how a successful business is ran, and then we're going to give you steps to walk out. But we're about halfway through the hour. And so I want to make sure we touch on all the other good stuff as well. Sorry, Michael, I don't mean to tell you how to do your job. We also have a question too. Did you guys answer Lavina's question? Which company for ISAs and for text do you guys recommend? Which company do you guys recommend?
So go ahead, guys.
A company for ISA, I use Conversion Monster. And as far as texting goes, Ylopo has an AI text system built within it. Bar none, the best text system you're ever going to find, because she actually converses with our leads, and it's amazing. Number one source of conversions comes from the AI text system within Ylopo called Raya.
Same. We use Raya for the automated. If we want to duplicate ourselves because it's a long-term person that we want to keep up with, we use Call Action. It syncs right in with Follow Up Boss. And then we use Conversion Monster for the priorities that we just can't get in front of.
So the other caveat to that I've done now is, due to the size of my database, I'm hiring my own in-house. I've got one really high quality ISA that's sort of like my lead coordinator, helps me manage the agents as well. I mean, he's really hitting the hottest of hot leads. Then I've got 2 VAs under him making calls to the other list, the warm and the cold list, and they're getting probably 3 to 4 appointments every single day from those lists because they're calling so much. And I can interchange them. This is the other thing I want to be clear with. We can interchange them into recruiting if we want to start throwing some recruiting stuff in there, because the more that your leads are really popping, guess what you're going to need? You're going to need some agents. Right. So, they can kind of go back and forth, but that's been a real success for me. All right. So are we ready to switch topics, Barry? Barry's frozen. Last time he froze a minute ago, he looked like he was sleeping. I caught him with his eyes closed. I'm like, is he actually sleeping? This time he just looks angry. So I think Barry's out for a sec. He'll pop back in. But I wanted to talk a little bit about, we got agent management staff. We've got accountability, time management, how to identify weaknesses and leverage to those weaknesses. We've got lead conversion mastery. So there's a couple of concepts I want to start with here. Let's talk a little bit about time management. I think this is what agents, when you talk about feeling overwhelmed, the way I look at it, and see if you guys agree with time management, you can either waste your time. There's a few ways to spend your time, or to use your time. You can waste it, you can spend it, you can give your time, or you can really invest your time, right? And when I'm saying invest your time, what I mean by that is, wherever I put time, is it going to have an ROI? Is it going to actually return something to me? I mean, so that's what I'm looking at in terms of business. Where do I put that time to get the highest ROI? And, when we're looking at time management, it's more than just scheduling and time blocking. There's habits and rituals around that. There's identifying what's productive. And there's one thing I wanted to start with, but I'll kind of let you guys go first on time management and how you're running that. But I've got a concept for the group here when we're done.
Well, first of all, you got to identify the big rocks.
You do.
Okay. There's only 4 things that you do, Mike, that actually lead to a paycheck. Okay. Prospect, list, sell, negotiate. All the other work we do is in support of those 4 things.
Production supporting activity. Yep.
Yeah. So if you don't have enough of those 4 things, all that other busy work you're doing isn't going to matter, because you're not going to be in business long.
Correct.
So that's big rocks. You got to eat, you got to sleep. If you have family and friends and you want to keep them, you've got to invest time in them. So those are your big rocks, and your big rocks go in my world, my big rocks go in first. But the biggest challenge, Mike, is not whether we block time, whether we don't block time, whether we use this new cool tool or that new cool tool. It's mindset.
It's mindset. Yep.
You would never take all the money in your bank account, lay it out on a table and tell all the other agents in the office and your, whoever's walking by, grab whatever you want and hope and pray I have enough left over to pay my bills.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we treat time. I'm going to tell you, I can get money back. I've lost money and lost money and made it again. What I cannot get back is my time.
And let's face it, time is the ultimate equalizer, right? I don't care, how smart you are, how talented you are, I don't care how connected you are. We all have the same 24 hours. So why is one person struggling so hard to get a hold of that time, with the next person is leveraging every minute to the max, right?
So triggering the coach in me, because here's what I want to say. 2 things you got to learn. You got to learn to let go of some things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And sometimes we get emotionally attached to the way that we do things, and the way that we're doing some of these things is killing us.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, you've got to master the word no.
Mm-hmm.
When you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else.
Correct.
And most agents are people. We're people. We want people to love us. We like people. We like being around people. We talk too much.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing that we do is we don't know how to politely say no. If you can, so mindset, I have limited amount of time. I can't just let everybody come and take it when they want it. And little verbal changes. How many of you, when you've got a client on the phone, say, well, when would you like to meet? Don't do that. You're giving away your time.
Mm-hmm.
How about what works better for you, this time or this time? And human beings will naturally pick one of 2 or 3 choices. Don't give them more than 2 or 3 choices.
I've tracked this on our team, and it's about 90% that you can control that. And the other 10% is where you run into the problem, and now you got to figure something out. But literally you're taking 90% of your schedule then, and you're putting it on your terms.
Correct. Just by the way you present the options.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So changing your language. Always remember, we teach people how to treat us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's say Mike decides, Laura, you're really awesome. Can I have a couple hours a week with you or whatever? I'd have to be able to say, you know what, Mike, I would love to help you. However, right. But many of us, and I'm using that as an example, Mike,
right.
We do that. We have agents that come, could you help me with this? Or we have, if we're in leadership, somebody won't do something right. We don't think they'll do it right. And so we won't invest in sending it back to them and having them redo it. We just do it ourselves instead. There's a lot of little things that we can do to regain control of our time. Letting go of certain things, learning how to say no nicely, and changing the way we teach people to treat us. If you pick up the phone at midnight on a Sunday night, then you're teaching that person that's calling you at midnight on a Sunday night, it's okay to do so.
So I think people too struggle with boundaries. That's another piece to it. They really struggle with boundaries. I mean, being bullied into 11 o'clock phone calls with their clients who can't solve their problem at 11 o'clock anyway, but I feel like I got to pick that call up. So there's boundary issues sometimes, but there's also, and I like to think about it in terms of habits, rituals, things of that nature, right? What really helps me out is when I set myself up in the morning for success for that day.
That's during the morning.
Yeah. So I that works really well for me. Same with evenings. Like I have to clear my head. If I have a to-do list in my head that I can't get out of my head, I'm just going to sit there and stress about it overnight. I'm not going to sleep well. I'm probably not going to have my morning that I need the next day. So I'm going to get that out and I'm going to journal it, write it out, those type of things. And I'm going to work on my mindset. I'm actually going to work on my gratitude. I'm going to work on, positivity. I'm going to work on all the things that set me up for the right piece in the morning that I can kind of start the day off the right way and continue it. Those type of things, I think, help you with time management exponentially. And it sounds weird because you think of time management as a linear piece. 8 to 9, I'm doing this, 9 to 10, I'm doing that. No, there's a mindset and methodology behind it all. And when you dial that in and you focus on productivity, you focus on leverage, efficiency, next thing you know, you're not working for $50 an hour no more. You've got $150, $200, $400 an hour, $500 an hour, right? Well, so it just keeps growing.
That's the other point I was going to bring up. A lot of times agents will tell me, I need an assistant. I can't afford an assistant. I'm having to do all this myself. I'm going to stop you there and say, you can't afford not to. if you will track your dollar productive activities in a calendar
Mhm.
and track your closings and add and the things that you do that are dollar productive actually have a dollar value, depending on your market, somewhere between $2,000 to $6,000 an hour.
Mhm.
Yet you will put off prospecting to do paperwork, data
Mhm.
entry, upload pictures of listings, fool around on Facebook. All of those things are important, but
Well,
they're not worth $2,000 an hour.
and I think there's a scarcity mindset with some of it too, because they figure the only one that can do this is me. Nobody else can do it as well. What if a mistake's made and a client's upset? You're thinking in scarcity instead of abundance. You might have a learning curve with some help and assistance, a TC, a VA, maybe you hire, whatever it is. There may be a learning curve and a change of how you do things. But at the end of the day, if I'm taking 2 to 3 to 4 more appointments a week, what's my conversion rate? 50%, 60 in some cases on those appointments. How much more money am I going to make by the end of the year?
Exactly. And you took a risk. You took a risk when you decided to become a realtor.
Mm-hmm.
There is no guaranteed paycheck.
Correct.
And you invested in yourself and took the risk to do it.
Correct.
Now, I'm not saying everybody needs to run out today, no matter what your bank account looks like, and hire an assistant. But what I am saying is some of you are hanging on to too many things that are not dollar productive, that you've outgrown doing those things, and you need to stop and transition into spending your time on the things that are dollar productive or bringing back balance into your life. Those are the two
Liv,
times you invest.
I wanted to ask you a question on this too. So one thing that I'm doing with my agents every year is I send them a couple different assessments, because I think there's a self-awareness piece with agents too. They think they know what they're good at. They think they know what their strengths are. They think they know what their weaknesses are. But between a DISC profile, a Clifton Strength Finder, or a good EQ test, emotional intelligence test, you can see in plain black and white, here's what you're strong at, here's what you need some work on, or maybe a lot of work on. And I'll tell you, so, go ahead.
Yeah, before we jumped in, we were in the back room and Laura was just discussing this with me about how she does a SWAT profile with her agents, and she sits down and she just goes over strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and she encourages honesty and openness. And it's such an ability for everyone to grow, because if real estate is anything, it is an ever changing industry, which is what is so exciting about being a realtor, but also why when running a team, you need to have complete transparency. People need to feel that their voice can be heard and that you can encourage them to be a better version of themselves.
So what you're talking about the SWAT too, I want to touch on that. So one thing I found with the SWAT is our agents would be very light on part of it. Like, I don't know what my opportunities are, and I don't really know what my weaknesses are. So when we started having them take the assessments, they had a lot of information to plug in. Now you're not.
We do both.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
now we're not focused on their self-awareness. We're like, do you really not realize what your weaknesses are? It's right there. So it's able to really help build, because how do you prescribe, the remedy without the diagnosis?
So DISC, we do everyone before I even interview them, I know their DISC, right?
Mm-hmm.
What we're doing right now is it's the time of year where we are planning for next year.
Yep.
And there's a whole series of things that I go through. And the first thing, and we started it this week, it will be completed by October 15th. But yesterday, SWOT analysis on ourselves, each individual.
Mm-hmm.
We do it in our huddle. We go through the answers. Everybody's doing their input. Today was SWOT analysis on leadership. My team did a SWOT analysis on me. So excited because they were so honest, Mike. It was amazing. Tomorrow, we're doing a SWOT analysis on the business.
I do that every year too. Yep.
And then Thursday, we're doing a SWOT analysis on our competition.
I realize that some agents might not know what a SWOT is. So I'm just going to throw that out real quick.
That's WOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So we analyze ourselves. Where do I think my strengths are? Where do I think my weaknesses are? Then we share with each other what we think. So my team, I'll tell you, Livia, you tell me what you think your strengths are. We'll all talk about it, point out maybe some others that you weren't aware of. Then the next day we're doing it on leadership. And then on the business, and then on our competition. The next week, we'll have goal setting. We'll get that squared up. Then me and my partner get together, look at all the numbers and the data, look for the holes. What are we adding? What systems are we adding? What recruiting do we need to do? And we do all of that now, not December, not January, because I'm going to have the people, systems, and training in place and done by the time January 1st gets here. And we're going to come out the gate way ahead of our competition.
This is where I wanted to go with the, how do you make more in Q4? I really was glad that we started going to this topic because, for me, business planning is, it's boring. People don't like to do it, but when you get intentional, you get inside of your business, you get granular with it, and you get intentional. When you're focusing on it, money flows where attention goes, right? So that's where your focus is. That's where the money's going to come from. And you're going to see opportunity. You're going, oh man, I'm not tracking my numbers. This business plan is asking me, how many calls I made, how many appointments. I don't know. Maybe I should start figuring out how to track.
Mike, what are you using? Do you use Excel spreadsheets or do you use a software program that does that tracking for you?
So, really, I kind of use something just like CTE. So if you ever use Commitment to Excellence, that's a decent enough one, I think. I just want my agents conscious of those things. How many calls am I taking? How many of those are turning into conversations? How many conversations turning into appointments? And you'll see differences. I've got agents that are super good at making the calls, but the conversion rates are a little weak. I got other ones that hate making the calls, and when they get on the phone, man, they're converting like crazy, right? So I got ones that do really good conversion.
Tell you how to coach your agents too.
What's that?
Those numbers will tell you how to coach your
agents. Exactly, right? Yeah. So I got other ones that get the appointments, and they're good at getting an appointment, but they're not that great at getting the contract signed and getting the listing or whatever it is. So it actually it points us in the direction, but it does that to them too. So what we've done is like, here's your business plan based on your own assessments, your own tracking and numbers, and here's the prescription. Here's the playbook of how you're going to get that better. And the more you focus on that right now,
right? You have the numbers, you have your batting averages, year to date, right?
Yep.
It's just like baseball.
Correct.
Your coach is going to look at your batting averages and say, lift your elbow, point your toe, you need to run, your whatever it is.
Yep.
And if you don't track your batting averages, number one, you have nothing to bounce off of. You don't know what you should be striving for. Correct. Or where your holes are. So we use Sisu.
Yep.
Because it pulls all my data in, including it tracks my ROI, it tracks everything.
Sisu is a great program. Sisu is a great program. So just so you guys know, what we're talking about is like a metrics tracking. We're talking about business tracking. It's different than a CRM. So the one I mentioned was CTE.biz. That's Commitment to Excellence. What Laura mentioned was Sisu. And I think that's just Sisu.com, if I remember right.
I think so.
How you can look it up.
Yeah, let me go. I've got it pulled up.
And for those that don't want to invest in something else, if you're using a CRM, check your CRM. There is usually an accountability area.
Some do, yes.
Yeah, and you want to make sure that agents understand they have to log appointments. They have to communicate through the CRM. You want all activity trackable so you can reward it. We want to reward positive activity and hitting the milestones that these agents have set out for themselves in their business plans.
So the last thing I want to talk about before we start, we only got a few minutes left for questions and whatnot, but the last thing I want to fly through really quick is the subject of accountability, because no matter how perfect our plan is, if it's not being executed and agents just flat on are doing it, how are we handling the accountability with ourselves and our agents?
So for the accountability, Laura is amazing at that. But part of what I want to talk about too before accountability, before we're done, is in line with that accountability. How do you just do it, right? So we've got a team. How do we make our agents do it? How do we make ourselves watch what they're doing and jump in? And so what's very key to that is having the confidence. There's a quote that I mentioned in the Ylopo one that said, successful people are people with successful habits. So we have to remember it's all about doing it. We've talked about how to pull them into a happy bubble or black hole. We've talked about how to systemize what we're doing. We've talked about how to track the actual activity. Now, how do you actually get on the phone and do what gets us money? And that's that jump in and do it. And one of the things that I found was really helpful is, because I am a producing agent, I'm a team lead, but I'm also a producing agent. You got to be flexible. You have to understand that there are going to be days that you're a rock star and days that you just don't have it in you. So how do you give yourself flexibility? You've got to lay out your activities and know what you're doing so that you can chart it. Laura has taught me time and again, you have to time block. You really do. Because I'm a producing agent, wife, mom, and all other things, it's been hard for me to set aside a solid hour. So what I do in my calendar is I do 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon, and 20 minutes in the evening. And I'm jumping into my CRM and I know just which smart list I'm working, when, and why. And that is a consistent thing that I'm doing. Another thing that we've talked about is you have to be curious. I think so often we think of this as like, this is my business and I'm a rock star agent. I'm going to sell houses. You have to care about the people we're talking to. We all call them leads, but they're people with needs and an interest in our industry. So we've got to care and be curious about what those needs are and why. You know, it's like one of the things that really works for us is we say, what is your home search story? It's not so much the search specifics, it's the story behind why they're doing it that I care about. Mm-hmm. And then I rate myself after. I was joking, that's my least favorite part. But when I get off a phone call, I like to think, okay, just like we were talking about strengths and weaknesses, right? If I could do that again, what would I replicate and what would I throw out the window? Where did I bomb and where did I succeed? And just mentally jog that down, because what it's going to do is when the situation develops again, you're going to know how you want to pivot. And then the last thing, know your worth. You are there as an advisor. You are a realtor. You are trained. You are licensed. You know more than the consumer, and they need you and they need the information you have more than you know. So don't forget that wealth of knowledge. We hold back so much because we don't want to be annoying, but we forget that we're not annoying if we're advising. We're actually helping them. So be that advisor. And then with that, it's because I know we're almost out of time for appointments, but I think what we have to do is stop trying to bring them to where we are and meet them where they are. So one thing I tell my agents is, you know, you get on the phone, let's say you're doing a call session, right? And you get on and it's like, oh no, I'm not looking, or, oh no, I'm not really interested, or, oh, I'm not going to do anything for a year, or I'm just kind of curious. And we just feel super deflated. Like, oh man, there's no good leads in this database. No. Those people we're going to close in 6 months or in a year or in 4 years in this case. And we have to be okay with that, because essentially we're taking this database and turning it into predictable income. When you're using the systems and you're using the tags and you're using the stages and you're really working it in such a way that you're accountable, you might not have someone that wants to look at a house today, and that's okay. You should be thankful that you have a deal coming up in 6 months or in a year. And as long as you can systemize it, you've got predictable income. I love to look at my CRM and go, ooh, we are going to have a rock star January on Cape Cod. This is incredible. Because Cape Cod in January is where every realtor tells you how the market's crap and everything's horrible. I like looking, going, oh my gosh, how am I going to manage all these people? I better start hiring more teammates on my team, you know?
So a couple of things I heard there too, and I really want to point this out. What I love is you created your schedule based on progress, not perfection, and it's unique to you, right? So you're never going to hit it 100% every single day. Things happen, right? But it's progress, not perfection. Just keep working at it, getting better, and building a schedule that's going to work for you. You're talking about 20-minute time blocks versus the traditional non-negotiable 1 hour or 2 hours that you're always going to hear. There's not always a one size fits all. We have to figure out what's going to work for us. And if it's working, just keep tweaking it and making it better and better and better. Don't stop. That's great. So the other thing I heard there too, and I really like this, is your job isn't to deter, like, let me rephrase this. You're talking more about a mindset piece that I like to call growth mindset versus fixed mindset, right? You're talking about a fixed mindset when somebody says, these leads suck, everybody's mean, nobody wants to talk to me, this don't work, I'm throwing it out. You know, they're anchored. They tried it once or twice, they figured out it doesn't work, they can't get around the obstacle in their mind, and they bail. Where the growth mindset is, how do I, not I can't do it, but how can I? What can I continue to do to get around the obstacle, over it, through it, keep going? It's a positive mindset. If you haven't really read Growth versus Fixed Mindset, determine in the behaviors in yourself, which you are, because you can kind of go both ways. that is a huge study opportunity for you and great personal growth. I love that. So that's what I heard from you. And I think that's amazing, because that's really got to be the mindset is not every lead's going to work. Not every phone call's going to knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
Not every day is going to be a stellar day of my schedule. Things are going to come up. You're you said a mother, you're running a team, producing agent, you got stuff, you got a lot on your plate, but you got to continue to build your business, progress not perfection, figure out the schedule that works for you, and keep moving past the obstacles. So I love hearing that.
Yeah, you're branding yourself and your business, and you're an advisor. So yet, I don't remember if it was Laura, Barry, or Gabe that said it, but they're not interested yet. They're not actively buying yet. If you remember that, you'll just find out when it is.
Correct.
Yep.
So last thoughts, Laura, anything?
Well, I know I'm coming away with a thought that, Mike, every time we do one of these, you are absolutely smarter than you look, man. I'm just every time.
That is not hard. Have you seen
come
me?
away with so much.
That is not a hard concept. Low barrier of standard there, buddy.
No, but listen, seriously though, all jokes aside, I was taking notes listening to you guys talk. That's why I just shut up. I was like, all right, this is interesting. And I started Googling.
I've got all my notes going too, guys.
Website,
Barry,
SWAT have you guys?
can barely hear you there, buddy. Can you say that one more time? You're a little quiet there.
Oh, I was just going to say that while you guys were talking, I looked up and I found SWATanalysis.com. So I'm exploring that because it looks kind of neat.
Really cool. Yep. I'm glad you're back, Barry, because I thought you froze out and went away, and I was going to give everybody your phone number and tell them to prank call you that they were a lead and they wanted a house right now. But glad you got back on here before I got to do that. Okay, so anything else we got to cover before we close up? I don't see any more questions in the chat. Do we have any on Facebook, guys?
Real quick, accountability is not punishment. If you have a team and you're working on how to hold your team members accountable, accountability is about getting them to do the thing that's going to make them the money. Give you an example. I have a 3 strikes rule. My agents are required to sell a certain number of homes minimum, 2 transactions per month on average, 1 hour of prospecting a day, 5 days a week. When they don't do what they're supposed to do, those are your key performance indicators. Remember those $4 productive activities. You got to make calls. You got to do follow-up. If they don't do it, first strike is they're going to sit in the office where I am, and they're going to prospect a whole entire week sitting in the office where I can hear them for 1 hour. Because I know I can help them overcome objections. I can help them overcome whatever fear it is that they're afraid to get on the phones, so on and so forth. Second strike, you'll sit in my office, you'll prospect for an hour a day, 5 days, the whole week, except you're going to set the appointments for your colleagues, the other agents on the team.
There we go. Yep.
And then you will shadow them on those appointments. The third strike, you don't fit my culture. It's time to let you go.
So I jump.
The point is, it's not taking leads away, because if I'm going to take leads away from you, Mike, are you going to succeed?
No.
All right. And if I'm going to set you up to fail, I might as well fire you, right?
Right off the bat.
Right. So what am I doing? We're going to force the KPIs.
And you're waiting to see if they're actually going to buy into it with the help, because you're giving them the extra support. Right. And if they don't, it's just not going to work. See, I jump right to the Godfather methodology, put a horse head in their bag. First time they do it. So that's my thing. It doesn't work very well. No, I like yours better. But anyway, I love it because you're actually giving them support. It's not punishment. I'm going to come and sit with you. We're going to iron this out and fix it. And we're going to get this straight with you right now. So if they don't buy into that, or they fight you, because, you got to realize sometimes agents, you're either going to be, there's a solution for every problem or a problem for every solution.
It eliminates excuses.
It does.
It does. Love giving people rope. I don't want to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
The rope.
So one thing I want to say too, on agents, and this has worked really well for me, is trying to identify if they're a stick or a carrot. Some people, they need to, like, and what I mean by that is they're either motivated by avoidance of pain, like they need to be beaten into submission to actually do what they're supposed to do. Because I don't like a lot of sticks on the team. I want carrots. I want people that see the vision and they're motivated, and what they want, they believe that they can get it. I like a team of that.
Yeah, that's the thing, guys. We get to build our own businesses, whether you're standalone agent or a team lead, whatever it is. You get to build what you want.
Okay.
So you
guys, I think we're getting yelled at by we're past time, but you get me on the phone here and I will just not stop talking for hours. So ladies and gents, I don't see
everyone.
I don't see any questions. I think we're good. Have a great one. Hope
Have
you
a
got
good
your
one.
takeaways from this. Great panel here.
Bye.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys.